Hello and welcome everybody. I'm Dr. Katherine Horton. Give me the usual 2 minutes for me to check the broadcast to YouTube. I just want to make sure that everybody can hear me okay. And let's just give people a couple of moments to click on the icon. Sorry, I have to go through some adverts. So okay, looks good. Okay, so there are already 25 people joining. Let me just tweet out the link so that more people can join us. Today is kind of important. I've got a couple of announcents to make. So join me now. For those people who don't know, my Twitter is at JIT_update. My previous Twitter account at Stop007.org was shut down, maliciously, I would like to add. So this is now the new channel. Now let me just check if everything is broadcasting fine. Today is kind of really important. I've got a couple of very, very important points to make. Okay, so there we are. I think everybody is there now. Hello, and I'm so sorry it took me days to give this update after my court hearing. There are very good reasons for that. There's also very good reasons why the court case went kind of bottom up, but at the same time, it really didn't. So when I had time to think about it, so the day after the court hearing, I found a place. I actually found a safe place in London where there are no directed energy weapon attacks. And I'm going to tell you about this secret place as well. If you ever want some rest from being assaulted and gunned, you can go there. It's publicly accessible. It's open from 10, I think from 10 to 5 p.m., 10 a.m. to 5 p.m. and you're safe. And there's lots of sandwiches and drinks. So the reason why it took me so long is because of the attacks. But when I had time the day after to really think about it in peace and quiet, I thought actually the way the court case went, it was horrific for me physically and personally because there was a lot of torture and assaults. But overall, it was fucking brilliant because it was the last missing piece that I needed to get this train onto the right tracks. Because the issue is that this is a mega train. I mean, it's just a court case about my personal case, but it has a lot of evidence. It has a lot of expert witnesses. It has a lot of supporting witnesses. And I want to make it succeed because it's so hard to bring all these people together. So what I absolutely want to, make sure is that the, what are they called? The points on the rail tracks are set such that this entire court case, starts off in a good direction. The worst thing is when it starts off looking good and then it's battered down by bad judges of horrific criminality, like my first court case was. Okay, so actually the way it went bottom up was completely, a result of the intrinsic criminality. But it was actually good because now there were 21 witnesses in the room who saw what happened. Okay. Now, first of all, I'm going to explain to you everything, but I want to say the things that were absolutely amazing. And I want to start this entire broadcast with big, big thanks and end it with big, big thanks. So the absolute, the Oscars today go to the 21 people who came to the court hearing, because every single one of you left a lasting impression on the High Court, on the judge, on the two clerks who were present. But also remember that this court case, even though they pretend like, oh, it's nothing, it doesn't go past them. It doesn't go past anybody because they have to type on the board, they have to list the court case as, Horton versus MI6, MI5, and GCHQ. It's pretty much unheard of. Okay, so of course there will be big eyes and everybody will tell everybody else. So silently, the entire building knows what's going on, but everybody's pretending like, oh, I haven't got a clue. What's that? I mean, there's nothing, right? But this is a big fucking deal. And everybody knows it's a big deal. So when I arrive and then when 21 people arrive, the security staff at the gate, the information point to watch the entry, they know what the big, court cases are because, the visitors are streaming past them, So when suddenly an entire busload of people arrives for a court case, they know this is big, okay? And every single one of those people who came added their weight. And actually, it was you had a bigger impact than with your vote on that day, right? It was also the general election, meant you had a much more lasting impression. With your vote, you're just one out of, potentially 60 million people voting, or maybe it's not that many who are registered to vote, but you know what I'm saying, it's millions of people. But when you were there, you were one person out of 21, and that you really added your weight, in gold to the court hearing. So I think the entire building and the support staff understood that this was a very, very big deal. Okay, and that is already the first step. We have to turn a big machine, and we have to get it into people's heads that this is a big deal, this is a huge problem, and it's not going away, and it's just going to grow bigger and bigger and bigger. So that was a huge success. And actually, one person, it was so funny. So I arrived, and when I arrived at the courtroom, there was this huge crowd, and I was thinking, where's legal counsel for the defendants? And there was one man who had dressed up in a suit, and I thought, oh, that must be the lawyer, for MI6 and British intelligence. So I made a beeline straight, to this guy, and I said, oh, are you, counsel for the defendants? And he looked at me and said, no, but you said we should turn up in a suit. I was like, okay, it works on me. You could have been the counsel for MI6 the way you looked. So it really works. Dressing formal really works because, it leaves an impression. So that was kind of like a test of this whole thing. And it really, really works. So for the next court hearing, I encourage you to dress up. I always say, dress for a funeral, their funeral, So that really worked. And I was, I apologized to the guy, but he looked good. I mean, he really impressed me, right? I think he could have fooled the judge, he could have just stood up there, and maybe it would have been better if he plays, counsel. But the point is, the lawyers didn't even turn up. Okay. Now, that's actually a clue. It's actually hardcore evidence, because the previous time in 2016, when I litigated against again the same 3 gang of criminals, as I would call them, the first time it was without notice, and then 2 times on notice, and both times they sent 2 lawyers. 2. And now there are 21 people watching. There's all this evidence, written up. There are all these expert witnesses queued up. 3 expert witnesses are NSA whistleblowers. It's actually a world premiere. I don't think there's a UK court case that has ever taken place with 3 American intel whistleblowers in one court case. So this court case has so many premieres that, it's mind-blowing. And yet MI6 didn't even bother to send their lawyers. Why? I think it's because they knew that this court case will be tanked no matter what, and they will not have to be there. So this is a big deal, okay? Because if they thought there's even a grain of a chance of me getting a toe hold in there, they would have been there with a hammer to whack me on the toe, right? But they didn't even bother to turn up. And for me, that is evidence. So what happened on the day? Well, let's go back to even the weeks, not just the days, but the weeks before the court case. And let me tell you what happened there. For the weeks before the court case, I'm being machine gunned in my flat here in Switzerland so hard, I cannot use my flat. So I got into the habit of going to bakeries to work on my court case, to go to McDonald's. I love McDonald's because they have amazing coffee and super Wi-Fi. So McDonald's is the best place to work, right? And as soon as they park a car and start machine gunning me, I can either change, seats within the restaurant or go to another place. So imagine I can't prepare my court case in my own study because these Nazi psychopathic serial killers are machine gunning me so hard I have to flee my home. Now, the worst is at night when I'm stationary. They are machine gunning me so hard that the metal shielding around my bed is banging. And I have an audio recording for every single night. For many, I even have a video recording. Okay, so this is what's going on. And I'm collecting the evidence, but nevertheless, I'm also accruing the physical damage. So after you have survived a day of nonstop directed energy weapon machine gunning into your body, you wake up and you feel damaged. I sometimes cannot walk. I bump into things. I can't hold my balance. I've got difficulty talking. like my entire brain needs to rewire itself because holes have been ripped into it with pulsed energy projectiles. So what I started doing as the court case was approaching, the hammering became ever more intense. So at some point I thought, I'm not going to survive this. So I started going to hotels and I was staying overnight in hotels. It is actually a huge difference. I have to say, if you book a hotel last minute, you can get a good night of sleep. Eventually they catch up with you, but they are not, the weapons are not set so well as they are in my home. In my home, they can kill me whenever they want to. In the hotels, they assault me and it's painful, but eventually I can sleep, you know? And so this is what I did. And I was going around in hotels in Switzerland. I even fled the country and I was in Germany. There was a time when I was in the United States. I was trying to get some projects to work. And even there I was assaulted wherever I went. So these people were hounding me across Europe and the United States, assaulting me physically in the weeks before my court case. Now, what happened is when I flew to London, I was there already on Tuesday so that I can finish everything on Tuesday night, submit everything on Wednesday, and then on Thursday, there's the court case. Now, the reason why I left it so late was because of all the assaults, okay? I physically, on my own, I have to deal with the 10 testifying witnesses, right? I'm trying to collect 3 expert witnesses. There are all the other witnesses who are submitting the tick box affidavits. That needs a lot of maintenance because it's never just a perfect version. You know, you need to go through, check for mistakes and so on. And on top of that, I have to deal with all this, and I'm being raped, I'm being tortured with the chips, and I'm being gunned nonstop. It is too much. I would say that it's already too much for a single person without legal training to do any of these by themselves. Now, to do all of this is humanly impossible, okay? So what this court case demands of me is to do the humanly impossible, basically, right? Which I can try and get so far with, you know, the time that I have, but, you know, don't be surprised if it's not perfect and I don't succeed, right? So this is exactly what happened. The whole thing was already pushed harder and harder. And remember that these guys look through my eyes. So one problem I have is when I work on my court case and I'm just looking at the white page with just text on, they ramp on the chips and my head is literally being cooked to the point that I have hair loss. I'm suffering from hair loss because they are burning the hair off my scalp. And meanwhile, they are hammering my genitals. They are, you know, burning my breasts. They are shooting me through the face, you know, trying to cripple me by gunning my hips and my knees and the usual stuff, you know. So this is all going on, okay? And most people, remember, most people in these situations would be ready to kill themselves. So, but I don't have time to kill myself, right? I have to do all this and continue. And the closer you get to the court case, the harder these psychopathic Nazi killers are hammering me. So on Tuesday, when I arrived in London, already delayed with my court preparations, I went to my courtroom and my hotel room before the court hearing. And I thought, oh, this is really good because I ended up with a subterranean hotel room, you know? So it's these Victorian buildings that have been redecorated. So you arrive at the hotel, but you go outside, you take some steps down, and then your hotel room is actually under the street. And I thought this is really great because the way the street is, they can't really park a car. They would have to drive over and maybe try to shoot through the floor. You know, I thought this is going to be great. I will have some time, you know. Now, what happened is that while my court case was below ground, so the street is here, here's my hotel room, the hotel was here, and one hotel room was a kind of mezzanine. So it was between 2 floors. It wasn't ground floor and it wasn't basement. It was like this. And by placing the weapons, as far as I can see, in this hotel room, they could shoot diagonally down into my room and gun me to bits yet once more. Okay, so I arrived Tuesday night. On Wednesday, and also during the night, the machine gunning started up. Again, I was trying to record. Now, on the Wednesday, what happened is I figured out that I can escape the machine gunning if I lie down here along the wall, along the skirting board, keep my head down and lie there like a sardine pressed against the wall. And that's what I did. That's what I did for long stretches in my hotel room, trying to type, trying to think about the court case, putting the last bits in order. And meanwhile, these Nazi psychopaths are machine gunning from the room next door. And I can tell you, wherever I went, the people are young. So these are Nazi serial killers in their 20s being trained up by MI5, you know? I have no words for these degenerates, really. But imagine the day before your court case, you know, you are up against the skirting board on the floor. And when you're lying on your side, you know, it's actually really hard to stay on exactly on edge, like on, you know, like a knife on edge. So when I put my knee forward for stability, as I was typing on my laptop, as soon as my knee stuck out, they gunned it. So again, right, there's indoor surveillance. So this is how insane it was. And at some point, you remember, I came online and I made a broadcast. And that was after they started the pneumatic drill right above my room on street level. So they decided to break open exactly that stretch of road, which was above my room. Now, the entire room was vibrating. Okay. And that's what made me really laugh. I mean, but what is funny is, as I said in the last broadcast, as soon as the pneumatic drill started up, after about 20 minutes, I could hear people next door just leaving, and people kept leaving. And I thought, oh, wow, look at this, right? These guys, they can't take the noise harassment. It gets to them. They probably have MI5 work regulations that, you know, they have to have proper working conditions, and this is too much for them, you know. But as soon as these fuckers left, the gunning stopped. So I was thinking, this is fucking brilliant. If I have a choice between the energy weapons and the drill, guys, keep going with the drill. I don't care, right? I had to work, you know, during my entire school time with young children around and things like that, right? And the nursery next door. You know, I can work with a jet turbine, you know, howling next to me. I really don't care. But that's what it took for me to be actually able to sit at the desk and try to finish it all off, you know, in the room. And I can tell you that the physical damage, the torture, and all this together, it is just too much. It is just too much. I couldn't finish it. So I thought, okay. And through all this, what MI5 are trying to do is and you will know that from your targeting, they are trying to destroy this, destroy that. They try to go extreme, like in super psychopath mode, and they try to overload you with frustration and psychopathy. So the only way to pull through is to say, oh, well, fuck this. Well, okay, I didn't make the submission deadline. Not my fault. I don't think ever before in the High Court had a litigant had to do the preparations while being gunned with weapons of mass destruction. Okay, so fuck it. I didn't make the submission deadline. So fucking what? I have evidence that the litigants are the defendants are gunning me. And then I thought, okay, doesn't matter. I'm just going to do what I did, you know, at previous hearings, and I will explain it to the judge what happened. I will print it off. And frankly, not every judge reads it beforehand. So he will have the copy in front of him. And yeah, well, this is the best we can do. I'm sorry that British intelligence are such a bunch of Nazi serial killers. Not really my fault. If I were the head of MI6, the whole show would be run differently. But I'm not, and it isn't. So, you know, and I thought, okay, plan B, I'm going to print it off and I'm going to take it along to the court hearing. So that was part B, plan B. And then the next day, and this is what really got me. So as you all know, and as MI6 knows, I'm using Bundle Docs, okay, which is the bundle software that's used by a lot of legal firms, and all my documents are there and everything is there. And then when you have tinkered with it and you finished it, you press one button and it starts generating a mega PDF of your entire file. And I have generated this file many times, and no matter how many documents you have in there, it takes about maximum 10 minutes, like the absolute most. Usually it takes about 5 and then 10 at most. Now I pressed generate in the morning, and this thing took hours. It took freaking hours, and it wouldn't stop generating. Well, that's convenient, right? And in the end, I couldn't believe that this thing wouldn't stop. So in the end, I realized, okay, well, I can't even print a bundle anymore. I thought, okay, now I'm down to plan C. And plan C was, I know what, I've got 2 laptops on me, 2 identical laptops, and I need 2 laptops with me at all times because GCHQ and NSA hack one always. So if they hack one, I've got the other. So between the 2 laptops, I always get along. So I had these 2 identical laptops, and I thought, okay, never mind. I'm going to wait for the PDF to generate digitally. I have plenty of USB sticks. I'll put it on these 2 computers, and then there will be a digital bundle on this USB stick for the judge and the defendants. They can look at it during the court hearing. I'm sorry it's not on paper. That's the best thing I can do under military grade sabotage. And then I will print it off at Ryman's outdoor, in front of the court building afterwards. And there's the paper copy, and we're done. Okay, so that was plan C. I had contingency plans to make this work all the way. And then I couldn't believe it, but this bundle didn't generate. It just kept generating and generating and generating. And I was like, I can't believe this. I can't just go to the court case with nothing. Okay. So I was like, this is ridiculous. So in the end, I waited so long, I realized, okay, I have to get a taxi now. I'm sorry. I have to just explain what happened, because this is ridiculous. So and of course, you get into a taxi, and then out of nowhere, which is not really out of nowhere in London, right? But it just takes ages and ages and ages. And your taxi driver has this funny idea that he will take a, left turn into even smaller streets. So we were zigzagging through like the tiniest of alleys, right? Trying to make it to the Royal Courts of Justice. And of course, we were delayed. But I'm so grateful to the people who helped me. There was one lady, and she said, okay, don't worry. She talked to the usher. She said, look, she's just going to be late. Yeah, sorry. So the entire court hearing was delayed because of this. And again, I'm the only person who looks good, because the defendants are the criminals, but the defendants are sabotaging and hurting and assaulting with stealth weapons, So hang on a second. I'm a litigant who would like to prepare her paperwork and peace and quiet like every normal litigant. And the defendants are psychopathic serial killers who are machine gunning people in the thousands day and night, right? So who exactly is at fault here? I don't think it's me. I am working to the best of my physical capabilities. So this is what happened. But then nothing prepared me for what the judge was like, okay? Before that, I'm going to introduce you to the judge so that you know who it was. And I'm going to also explain what's wrong with that picture, okay? So let me go here. Yes. So let me share my screen. So the judge was, here we are. It was Judge Andrew Nichol. Okay, yeah. And this is what was announced. I was amazed. Because my court case this time was actually announced online. That hasn't happened the last 3 times in 2016. So, overall, we're getting somewhere with the High Court, it's almost like following procedure. So this was the judge, and people told me, they said, oh, it's your court case is now online, it's announced, and this is the judge. Really good news. He looks like a good guy. And I type his name into Google, and the first thing that comes up is, this is a sir, right? This is sir. So this is like incorporated into the Crown, the Crown Corporation. That's what it means. He's an agent of the Crown. Okay. So I've got an agent of the Crown, right? Who's a High Court judge. And he was educated at the City of London Free Men's School, and then at Cambridge, and then at Harvard. Well, the first thing I can say about this is that this guy is going to be chipped head to toe. I bet my rear side that this guy is chipped. So he should take an ultraviolet torch, right? Had he allowed me to speak, I would have had an ultraviolet torch ready there for him, right? And I could have given it to him as a gift, but surely from his, surly estate and from his judge's salary, he can afford a £10 ultraviolet torch. So I'm pretty sure that if he lifted this torch to his eyes, his pupils would be glowing fluorescent green. Okay, so point number 1. Point number 2, City of London Free Men's School. Okay, so this guy, he is basically from the City of London daycare creche. That's where he was groomed and educated. Well, if this guy isn't brainwashed beyond recognition, then the City of London didn't do its job, because that's what it's there for. So what is the City of London Free Men's School? I mean, look at the City of London's Free Men's School is here, and this is their crest, okay? I mean, it has Knights Templar and Switzerland and dragons and, bloody swords all over, okay? So that's a good start. So this is the City of London Free Men's School. It's a co-educational private school for day and boarding pupils, okay? So it's in Surrey, England. And it is the sister school of the City of London School and the City of London School for Girls, right? Which are both independent single-sex schools located within the City of London itself. So in other words, this guy went to the City of London's, daycare creche that's not in the City of London. It's kind of like a little, City of London, offspring, daycare holding center in Surrey. Okay, right? I mean, what are the freaking chances? So this is the Free Men's School. And then let's have a look at the original City of London School. So that is right at the heart of this, right? And when you read this, the City of London School, also known as CLS, is an independent day school for boys in the City of London. Okay, so this is the sister school. It should be called the brother school, but anyway. Yeah, maybe there's cartel signaling in that, so the sisters here, these boys in the other school. But anyway, so when you all three schools, so it also says it is a partner school of the City of London School for Girls and the City of London Free Men's School. And then here comes the clincher. All three schools receive funding from the city's cash. Now, what would that be? What is the city's cash? So the city's cash, right? And this is now the City of London coat of arms, okay, is an endowment fund overseen by the City of London Corporation, as in the Crown Corporation, right, built up over 800 years and passed from generation to generation to fund services that benefit London and the nation as a whole. Well, that's Wikipedia for you. I would say it's built up over 800 years to benefit themselves, okay? I mean, come on. And it is one of three funds run by the City of London Corporation, the other two being the City Fund and the City Bridge Trust. Okay, so the city's cash sounds like, there's the City Fund, which sounds like, oh, it could be an investment fund. And there's the city's cash is like probably the billions of, petty cash that they have to just throw around, This is what it sounds like to me. So I'm thinking, okay, the judge is a sir, and not just any old sir. He was actually educated by the City of London, and his entire education was paid for by the City of London. Are you fucking kidding me? Seriously, are you fucking kidding me? Has the City of London, how long have they searched to find somebody like that? I do not know. So that's what I was thinking the night before the court hearing. I was like, okay, well, I can see the city is taking me seriously because they really try hard to get one of theirs, right? I mean, if you go through this education and you're not one of theirs, they really fucked up. They really wasted a lot of the city's cash, okay? So I don't know. But also note, now that we're on the topic of the City of London, this is the coat of arms of the City of London Corporation. And it says Domine dirige or dirige nos, right? I never know how the fuck to pronounce Latin in English. But anyway, when you type this into Google, okay, it is amazing because it shows up as a thing in every single dictionary. Here's Merriam-Webster, big American dictionary. Here is dictionary.com. And they all know that it's the motto of the City of London. Huh. Pretty big, isn't it? Pretty big. So they all know it's the city of, the motto of City of London. I mean, you would think it's an archaic thing. And it translates into Lord, guide us. So the Lord guides the City of London. Now, what you have to understand is that the Bible is a brainwash manual issued by the frickin' Vatican crime cartel themselves, okay? And they find it so important that they place it in all their little pods, right, around the world, the little churches, as the number one brainwashing manual. And the number one figure in that brainwashing manual is the so-called the Lord, okay? And they kind of have the word God, and they also refer to it as Lord, which is kind of funny because it's an aristocratic title, wouldn't you say? So when they say the Lord is guiding them, it almost sounds like it's some sort of aristocratic, you know, earthly title. But what you have to understand is that the entire brainwash manual is trying to get you to worship the head of the mafia, okay? So don't you try to find your own connection with God, that it's maybe something the church doesn't want. No, no, no. You can't have your own ideas about what God is, right? Or your own feelings about it. No, you have to take it from this book, and this book defines it, how exactly Lord, you know, this Lord is like, and what he likes, and he's a he, and what he doesn't like, right? And so on and so on. And then this Lord is guiding them. So when you understand all the cartel signaling, what it says to me is the mafia, the head of the mafia is guiding us. And that's the city of London, okay? So here it says, plain for everybody to see, the head of the mafia is guiding us. Where's the head of the mafia? Well, here's the Knights Templar, right? If you squint, you can see the flag of Switzerland, somewhere there, right? And then also you have the two satanic dragons, left and right, with this satanic tongue, right? The tongue in the shape of a spear, you know, and then even the dragons run around with the Knights Templar, you know, brand, the logo imprinted on their little wings, right? I mean, it doesn't get any more obvious than that, okay? So this is the background story to the London, the City of London Corporation, right? The City of London School and the City of London Freemen's School, which is where this judge, Andrew Niccol, maybe, spent his entire youth. Surrounded, and remember, it's a private school, okay? So the City of London Freemen's School is a private school. What that means is that the other little kiddies who are there are also handpicked to be sufficiently from rich families, right? So daddy is going to be sufficiently rich, which automatically means that daddy is going to be sufficiently high up in the Crown Corporation, okay? So you're planting a judge there that has been kind of like pressure cooked in a little cartel environment. Well, don't be surprised if his reactions might be different from that of what we maybe would call a normal mortal, okay? So these were my thoughts the night before the court hearing, and I thought, well, I can't really do anything about it. Let's just run with it, see how it goes, right? See how it goes. Now, what happened is that, I mean, the judge had all rights on surface to be pissed off with me because I'm, you know, half an hour late to my own court hearing, right? But then again, he could as well tone down the pissed offness because, hey, I'm trying to fight the genocide, crimes against humanity. And by the way, I'm trying to save his ass, which is very much implanted like mine, and that of his, you know, potential children he might have. So let's just tone it down, okay? So anyway, I arrived there. And I'm trying to explain all the sabotage, and I had it laid out. I had certain things that I wanted to say. I wanted to ask for permission to record the hearing because I have evidence that the last 3 hearings were sabotaged. The audio recording was sabotaged, and from that, the transcript was sabotaged. So MI5 controlled the building and this whole digital audio recording thing. So the defendants had sabotaged, right, the evidence about the court case itself. And I have evidence of that. So I wanted to have this recorded, right? But I couldn't even get to speak. So the judge did a typical trick whereby he doesn't allow you to speak. He forces you to answer your questions. So he said, yeah, but you haven't submitted a particulars of claim. Now I wanted to explain why I hadn't. And he kept saying, Dr. Horton, I'm going to stop you there. Okay. And he said that several times. So by the way, the best, log of what was said is in the transcript, which I hope to fuck that this time it will be accurate, but I requested this transcript. So later on in the week, we should have the transcript, I hope. Now, you know, in the transcript, if it's accurate, you will see how I tried to get this across and I couldn't even speak. And in the end, the judge made a big thing about, okay, the only thing I have is the application notice, which says that it's an injunction and it's punitive damages and damages, and that I want an injunction against directed energy weapon attacks, but there are no particulars of claim. Okay. And he said to me, the defendants need the particulars of claim to be able to respond to them. Well, what I would like to argue is that the defendants have been watching me writing the fucking particulars of claim live. In fact, they had sabotaged the first version of the particulars of claim, which was 170 pages long, and they replaced it with a document that was 20 pages of the symbol hash. I'm pretty sure the defendants have multiple copies of my particulars of claim already. In fact, they dynamically respond to the content of my particulars of claim with, brutal sabotage. So much about that point, but there's a much more fundamental legal point that I would like to make here, which is the injunction hearing, okay? And this is just the injunction. It's not the full works, right? It's not the full legal court case about the punitive damages and all the other stuff, right? This is just about the injunction. Now, if a woman is assaulted so hard and she cannot anywhere find a lawyer because the defendants have forbidden all the lawyers, not just in the UK, but there's not a lawyer anywhere in the Commonwealth who's willing to take these cases. In fact, we have evidence that those lawyers who do have their practice destroyed and end up falling catastrophically ill, okay? So given that we're dealing with a woman who is being physically assaulted all the way up to the court hearing, in fact, my muscles were pulsed and triggered in the taxi to the court hearing, okay? So you're dealing with a woman who's assaulted that hard. It is physically impossible for her to get a lawyer, right? She couldn't submit the paperwork because of a ludicrously high number of extreme egregious sabotage. Now she's standing before a judge. She paid the court fee, which is, by the way, £255 for 1 hour hearing. And I've paid for an hour hearing and I can't get a word in sideways. Now, what it should be is we should remember that in the common law, okay, going back throughout, hundreds and hundreds of years of the common law, most people couldn't read or write. So fuck your particulars of claim, right? The particulars of claim can be put in writing or an emergency when I'm standing face to face to a judge and a transcript is being generated. I should be able to actually say the claim on my feet, right? Surely. I mean, the reason why I have to say the claim on my feet is inherent in the criminality that I'm trying to get an injunction against, right? So at some point we have to break this gridlock, right? So, but anyway, the judge didn't even allow me to make those points. So in the end, what he did is he aborted the court hearing, saying, well, you don't have the particulars of claim, submit your particulars of claim, and then you can come back. And then he threw people out of the room. So he wanted to make sure that we cannot possibly talk to him any longer. Now, I actually think that this is not due process. I was not granted due process. I was not allowed to express, what actually happened. I was not allowed to actually say, okay, judge, but there's other things going on here, which is that my witnesses keep being assaulted just like I am. So there's an entire group of people who can all testify that they are being assaulted and they need an injunction too. And the fact that this went so bottom up is actually evidence that we need this injunction. Right? But I couldn't get it in. However, what I could get in, and I think this is what, this is actually pretty big, is I stood before a judge and I said, I'm sorry, but this is a court case. He said, yes, but we don't have your claim. And I said, here's the claim. This is a case about a genocide and crimes against humanity against the British people. And I got that sentence in. Now, the thing is that in the case of crimes against humanity, I am pretty sure that every court, and by the way, every law enforcement anywhere in Europe has a statutory duty to act. Why? Because of the frickin' Holocaust 1.0, okay? Which came about because the police refused to help the people who were being mass murdered, right? By the secret services and the military. Remember that. the Holocaust was, every Holocaust ever in the history of mankind was always perpetrated by the military, the secret services, and the police. There still has to be, you know, a Holocaust perpetrated by the Association of Bakers, you know, or the, I don't know, Professional Association of Orthodontists, right? It's always the military, the police, and the secret service. In fact, if they didn't want a genocide to happen, it would be stopped within an hour, right? So the only genocides in a country that ever happen are perpetrated by these guys, okay? That was the same in the Russian massacre, the Chinese massacre, the German massacre, in, you know, wherever you go, right? So it's a pretty big deal. But in the case of crimes against humanity, the courts have to act, right? The courts have to act. So there's a live genocide, there are crimes against humanity, a victim managed to get all the way to the High Court under assault, right? And under assault with weapons of mass destruction, and the judge couldn't give a flying fuck. And then I also said, well, it is extremely hard under these circumstances to make these particulars of claim because it is impossible to get a lawyer. In fact, you know, I said I'm on the board of a class action in the US that has now 3,000 members, and not one person and nor the class action managed to secure legal counsel, right? And we're talking about first legal advice, not necessarily representation in court. It is impossible. It's impossible anywhere in North America, anywhere in Europe, and anywhere in Australia, right? So this is a special case. And yet the only thing this Judge Nickel had to say about that was, oh, I'm really sorry about that. Well, Judge, I don't particularly care for your private opinion, you know, about this. What matters is your professional action under these circumstances, right? Because this is a pretty big deal. It means that, and this is, I'm going back to fundamentals here, right? Tom Bingham wrote this book about the rule of law, and I think somewhere in there, it's about, you know, accessibility of the law, right? A fair trial, but at some point there was also, I have to look which particular section, but somewhere in there, there's also a passage about how if a litigant doesn't know what the law is like, right, that's not justice. So you need some form of legal advice, right? If you don't have that, it's not a legal system, it's organized crime. I mean, Tom Bingham doesn't say that, I say that. But in here are the rules, the basic rules for the rule of law, right? Big, actually, it's a small book, and I recommend everybody to get it. I think I paid £10 for this. It is really worthwhile. And I'm going to smear this in everybody's face like this, okay? Because we have to get back to this. We are miles away from this right now in London and anywhere else. And we need to get back to this. By the way, this is just about Penguin. So this is the, Penguin is the publisher. Note how Penguin, the particular front page they chose. So this is Lady Justice, fair enough. By the way, note that Lady Justice isn't blindfolded, so she isn't blind as a bat on this one at least, which is great, because if the rule of law is observed, she shouldn't be blind. But then look how the publisher drew a crown on her head. A crown. And it's kind of it is actually, you know, specifically done. It's not Photoshop that she is wearing a crown that, you know, looks like it belongs to the picture. It's kind of drawn on later. So it's almost like the publisher is smearing the original concept of the rule of law by going like, but there's also the crown that is above her head. So above the head of the Lady Justice is the crown, right? That's a kind of insidious message there, right? So I would say, no, this is graffiti. We need to wipe this off. It's just Lady Justice and the rule of law we need to get back. I know that this is what we have now, right? I know it's kind of accurate, but we need to get rid of this, okay? We need this. So anyway, and so the judge said, oh, I'm really sorry. Okay, and the whole thing was terminated and we were outside. And I was like, okay, I'm not gonna go thermonuclear here because, hey, it's, you know, It's to be expected, okay? We can't assume that we're just going to walk in and sue British intelligence, which has been, you know, basically Vatican intel, and had the, you know, the license to murder, rape, and torture and kill for millennia. So they're like, whoa, what is this? Okay, so fair enough. But then when I was standing outside, and then later on in the day, people approached me, and some of my witnesses approached me, and they said, but why was the judge smiling when you said crimes against humanity and the genocide? And why did he have no questions? Why, you know, could you tell him, like, there's an ongoing genocide, that people can't get lawyers to help them, crimes against humanity are being perpetrated, and he had no questions. He wasn't like, crimes against what? Say again? Genocide? Where? How? You know, what are you talking about? No, he knew. He had zero questions. And that is a huge difference compared to previously. In fact, the only person who had zero questions was Judge Holgate, my third judge. Okay. And that again is smoking gun evidence, because I'm sorry, when a judge doesn't have any questions about big things like that, it means that he knows. He could have asked on the spot, but he was like, well, genocide, okay. There's some sort of genocide happening here in London, but I mean, sorry, I don't have this I don't have this form. I don't have a particulars of claims. So I mean, you know, I mean, the genocide has to just continue until I get this paper, right? So I'm thinking, hang on a second, MI6 didn't send their lawyers, even though last time they sent 2, right? They knew this is going to tank, and the judge had no questions. You know, like me saying genocide and crimes against humanity, it would have been like, yeah, but it was raining outside, right? His reaction was just like that. You know, it's like, yeah, sometimes it rains in London, everybody knows. It was just like that. Yeah, sometimes there's a genocide in London, everybody knows, you know? Whoa, big deal. You know, that's a big deal. And it's actually a much bigger deal than people realize, you know? So I was like, okay. My bad that I didn't manage under military grade, you know, machine gunning to produce all this and jump through all the hoops. But I did tell a high court judge before 21 witnesses that there are crimes against humanity and the genocide. And I'm going to get that transcript, and that fucking transcript, that's what I'm going to work with, right? Because what happened after that, and this is why I was angry about what was done to me, but I was even angrier when I saw how badly my witnesses were tortured all the way coming down to London, right? Coming down to the court building. They had to go through insane retaliation. They were tortured all the way. The people who had voice to skull, MI5 blithered in their ear and was jeering, right, about how my court case is going to tank anyway. So we have the defendants howling like degenerate morons into the ears of my witnesses during this court case and after the court case, and they're really hammering my witnesses after that, and me too. Okay, so I was like, okay, this is what we're really dealing with here. Okay, so there's huge damage and huge harm being caused by a gang of ruthless, out-of-bounds criminals who are drunk on their power, and the judge doesn't give a shit. Now, please tell me, which side is the judge on, right? And does the judge think that this genocide isn't affecting him? Because it looks like it, right? I mean, if I had been a judge and I don't know about it, and there's suddenly a Dr. So-and-so and 21 people behind her, right, supporting her, and she's coming and saying something about genocide and crimes against humanity in London, I would be like, tell me more. You know, the Daily Mail didn't bring that, right? Now, if I were a judge who knows about all this, right, about the genocide, and I would think, oh shit, this is a really bad thing, I would be like, okay, girl, you don't have the particulars of claim. What the fuck happened? Because you clearly have a PhD, you managed to write your, you know, doctorate, you've got a first from Oxford, right? You can clearly stick to deadlines. So what the fuck happened, right? And what the hell are we going to do now? What do you need to be able to write those particulars of claim, right? This would be a normal judge. So I'm like, hang on, this judge didn't fit into any of those categories. So the last one that's left is to say, oh, well, yeah, the City of London really got to him when he was a kid and he just can't break out of his programming. You know, he's like, oh, yeah, some poor people are being genocided. Oh, you know, and this is how it comes across, you know. Yeah, but well, I'm so sorry to hear that. Yeah, well, I have to go now. You know, so big deal. Okay, this is a massive deal. Now, one of the things I would like to say to all the 21 witnesses in the room, and especially my witnesses who are testifying, you know, and all the other people who are watching is, do not get disheartened by this. Do not get disheartened, because that was the point. The point was, for me certainly, is to make me physically and psychologically get crushed, right, by every which way. And the most crushing thing at the very end is always betrayal. Betrayal is the most like psychologically like infuriating, right? And it makes you lose all hope. That's the point. But unfortunately, I'm too experienced for that. Because I remember in 2016, I went into the High Court. I was alone. And at the time, I was targeted for 4 months, day and night, but I was totally alone. I knew shit all about directed energy weapons. I had no idea that I was implanted, and it would be another year before I would even find out, right? I had no support, no witnesses, no expert witnesses, no connections, no YouTube channel, no Twitter. I was a nobody, not known by anyone, right? And yet I went straight into the High Court, and Judge Spencer took me seriously. And he took me seriously, and he did his utmost to uphold my rights, despite the fact that the defendants had sent Mr. Grumpy to glare at him over my shoulders, right? And then again, when I was given a new date at the second date, which was meant to be on notice, that's the one thing Judge Spencer said. It's like, we have to deal with this in the High Court, but it has to be on notice. The other party has to be there as well. So he gave me a new date, the second date. Judge Edith, same story. Both of them, Judge Spencer was shocked. He was visibly shocked. Judge Spencer and Judge Edith also were shocked and asked me questions about it. And these are exactly the questions that are edited out of the transcript. Especially Judge Edith said to me, well, why would anybody persecute you like that? And I said, and these were my words, I think pretty much exactly, my lord, as far as I can tell, this is a decentralized assault system, again, a NATO assault system against dissidents. That entire question by the judge and my answer has been scrubbed from the transcript. Kind of an obvious question to ask, no? Now, when it was scrubbed from the transcript, I thought, oh shit, it means this is a decentralized NATO assault system against dissidents. That's exactly what it is, right? Decentralized as in it's in all our communities, right? People just going around killing, right, by themselves. NATO is involved, and they are assaulting dissidents. Anybody who's not willing to go along with the criminal agenda, right? But the first two judges were amazing, right? And you walk out of the court case, of the courtroom, and you think he has done exactly everything how he should have, how I expected him to do it, and how he should have done it. There's literally nothing I can criticize about him, nothing. Now that is what I call a real judge, okay? When you come out of the court case and you think, if I met this judge in a dark alley, I would kick the shit out of him just because I can, then something went wrong there, right? Because when you have actually genuinely the rule of law, right? The rule of law is kind of like the optimum in the system, okay? This is why the rule of law is connected to the Carnot efficiency of a society. There is no way to improve on that because both sides got a fair deal, okay? That is the rule of law. When one side is hammered, is raped, has to, you know, lie like a sardine next to the skirting board, has to fight to print off the particulars of claim, and is then ridiculed, right? That's not really fair. That's not really fair. So this was not the rule of law. And then, of course, you get angry because your internal innate sense for justice tells you that something was seriously out of whack. you know, something wasn't right. And one thing that wasn't right was the good cheer of this judge. You know, I remember Judge Holgate, the third judge, he was also so amazingly cheerful. And I was thinking, hang on a second, I'm talking about a directed energy weapon system killing people and killing academics like me. You're not bothered, right? How can you still have a good day? I would have a really shit day if I heard about that, you know? So I was like, okay, this is my personal view on the court case. And then I got this judgment here. Sorry, the judgment is kind of like banged up. It kind of shows you how much of a shit I gave about this paper, you know? So it's kind of like I stuffed it in my bag. And it says, you know, basically, if I issue, I should issue a claim form if I wish to pursue this matter alongside the particulars of claim and give copies to the respondents. Well, I would argue that the respondents already have a copy of absolutely fucking everything on my computer now and what was ever on my computer going back 10 years, right? In fact, the respondents can see through my eyes what I'm typing, and in fact, through the Neurotech device, know what I'm going to type before I type it. So you can't possibly give another party more notice than that, right? Now, the other thing that I would like to point out is the format. It looks completely different. Maybe there was a revamp of this, but it has this like line, the seal, and then it has the stamp. That is not how these judgments looked like last time. So let me just share my screen and show you where you can find the information on the last court case. And then I'm going to explain to you what I'm going to do next. Okay. And this is the thing. So, okay, let me share my screen. And the reason why I make a big deal out of what things look like is because, as it turns out, oh, by the way, okay, so go to stop007.org, go to classified. Yes, this is about me. And then here you will find my qualifications. And here's the old court case, you know, and I will start uploading all these documents as well. Okay, so here you have all these old court cases. Ah, damn. Oh, this is the judgment. But previously the court orders, yeah. So if you see this, so there's the seal. The seal looks different. Okay, so here it's the Royal Courts of Justice on this one, and then no sidebar, and then you have this. And then on this version, there's a different seal. It's like the UK seal, right? And then not the Royal Courts of Justice, and you have this line. So out with it is because actually several investigators, one in Switzerland, one in France, cottoned onto the fact that when you get these judgments, there is a secret Masonic code embedded in this. So it matters where the stamp is placed. Is the stamp there or is it down there? Where along does this, you know, and are there any boxes? And I don't even know half the stuff of how that works, but, you know, the position of the stamp matters and a million other things matter. And through that, what the Masonic system did is, through their secret code, let everybody know what the mafia's decision about this case was, so that everybody could act accordingly without leaving any paper trails, okay, any evidence, okay? So this is why I just point this out. But anyway, now, what are we going to do now? And here comes the best bit, okay? So the day before the court, before flying to London, an Amazon order of mine arrived. And this Amazon order of mine, where's the little box? Here. It delivered this little box here, okay? Now this little box, let me open that for you, contained neodymium magnets, okay? It's a bunch of magnets and then two metal plates here to kind of hold them in place, okay? Actually, I had this many neodymium magnets, but I gave one to every person who attended the hearing. So there's like 21 magnets missing here. Now, this pack of 52 magnets you can buy for £8 on Amazon. And they are neodymium magnets, okay? They are a particularly strong type of magnet. Now, when you take a little magnet like that, it's like this. Okay, and it's very flat. Now, what I discovered, and I hope it works now, is that when I take a magnet, let me just find the exact position, I can stick it to my forehead, and it sticks. Okay. It doesn't stick everywhere. It only sticks at the points where I can feel the chips being worked. And there are several chips and there are several points where, where I can place magnets, and it's symmetric. So you can place it on here. You have to, the thing is, these chips are tiny, and as it turns out, they contain a magnet. So one way it sticks like this. One way it sticks, the other one it doesn't. So let me just do it live. Just be a bit patient and don't say, oh, it doesn't work immediately. I have to find the exact center of the chip, okay? That's where it sticks the most. Is it here? I think it's there. Now, one way round, it really sticks. Oh, I think I got it wrong. This way round, it sticks. The other way around, it repels and it falls off with time, you know? So what I found out is that there are several, actually on my nose, it's even easier because the skin is kind of thinner. So one way around it works, and I can stick it on either side of my nose and it will stay there. The other side, it kind of repels and falls off like this, okay? So I discovered this the day before my hearing. And I had these chips there. I could have shown the judge how I'm implanted in the room, okay? But this is a breakthrough. And by the way, it's only now that I finally do this test because I couldn't believe that it would work. The first person to ever show me that magnets stick to him is a victim from, it's not from Europe. I don't want to identify the victim, not from Europe. But I'm thanking him, okay? I am thanking him that he showed me that this is something I should have done, and I apologize that it took me so long to actually get these freaking magnets and try it, okay? And I thought because the country he is from, it's probably older tech, and that's why it works for him, but it won't work for me. But it was an untested assumption, okay? That was a really stupid thing to do for me as a scientist. I'm sorry, I was busy. I had my head up my ass, blah, blah, blah. Sorry. But now I know. So the thing is, I now figured out that, these chips, they all have a little pickup magnet inside. And this is why one side sticks and the other side repels. If it were just metal in your head, it would stick on both sides. Okay, but these don't. They stick when it's north and south, and when it's north against north, it repels, and so on. Okay, so that's already evidence in itself that there's a little magnet stuck in your head. But what you can do with this is you can find your chips, and you don't even need a bug detector. You just need to spend £8, get a pack of these. And then also be careful because, as they keep falling off, sometimes if you knock a magnet particularly hard, it can lose its magnetism. Okay, so if you keep dropping these for a long time, they can start to get a bit weaker. Just take a new one and keep looking for your chips. Okay. But in principle, these are pretty strong. So what you need to do is it will stick when you have zeroed in such that the chip is right at the middle of this thing, because then it will attract this little disc symmetrically all around and it can't slip off anywhere. Okay, so this is actually cheaper and better and visually much more convincing than a bug detector. Okay. And the guy who first showed me this, he could stick these all across his body, exactly where the chips are. And the locations where he photographed, I recognized them as known chip sites. I have seen scan reports from people saying that this is where they are. Okay. Now, the thing you have to know is that these things for £8 are only so strong. So if you have a chip deep embedded in tissue, then the tissue, right? Or maybe like me, you kind of put on a bit for winter, right? Then the layer of tissue between, or body fat between the chip and this magnet, if it's too thick, it won't stick. Okay. So I would say the first place to check is your forehead. Okay. Because there the chip is very close to the skin, your nose area, and things like that. Or sometimes your hands, joints around finger joints and stuff like that. And when you are looking for the chip, it takes a bit of patience, but after a while, you can feel the pull. So you can feel that at certain points, there's a pull. If you have the magnet the other way around, you can feel that, At certain points, this thing is being repelled by something. Now, this also matches up with what Melinda Kidder found, the private investigator. She had a very fine magnetic field meter, and she said that, if I remember correctly, okay, this is from memory, the human body cannot produce anything stronger than 0.01. So with background, your body should be 0.01 microtesla, but I think it's right. I hope I got the units right, but it's something like that, 0.01 microtesla. But these chip regions have up to 0.04 or 0.05 microtesla, so 4 or 5 times background. And I've seen diagrams where these microtesla points are, and I think Millicent had one of them, where these microtesla points were marked. And now I understand that that's the little magnet in the chip that does it. Okay. So sorry, I didn't really understand up until now how these things work, but there seems to be always a little pickup coil, you know, a little magnet and a pickup coil in there. So you can find it with this. So this actually is a bigger breakthrough than this stinking court hearing on Thursday. Actually, me being able to give a neodymium magnet to all the people attending is more valuable than the shit show that went down. But also, don't think that the shit show that went down was a waste of time or money if you came to London for it. It was absolutely not, for several things. So let's just list all the things that we succeeded in doing. Number one, for better or worse, we created an entry, right? The entire court building knows that this is going on. 21 people turned up. They literally filled the room. At the back, it was full house, right? Now, one thing is that I saw the judge, but also there was the clerk opposite the judge, and she kind of sits at like ground floor level, and she was behind a big screen. Now, her eyes, I could only see her eyes behind the screen, but when she heard genocide and crimes against humanity, her eyes went big. So I think this was pretty much news for her. And the same thing with the clerk to my left, right? Now, these are two ladies, and if I know one thing about women is that they talk to everybody. This is the big advantage we women have. We can talk to everybody, and we do talk to everybody, so everybody will get to know. Okay. And then when I came out of the court building and the days after, I thought, you know, when stuff like this happens, we have a choice. We can either sit down and feel sorry for ourselves, you know. And then I was thinking, well, you know, I'm targeted by MI6. Like, what would the head of MI6 do when faced by such a frankly totally unacceptable shit show? You know, does the entire, you know, organization fall into mourning? Do they raise, you know, flags on half-mast and everybody runs around feeling sad and mopey for the rest of the day? Or do they all think, well, this was unacceptable, I'm gonna fuck you up so bad, right? And I think this is what we should think. How can we fuck them up real bad for what they have done? I mean, in a non-violent way, but nevertheless, in a fucking up sort of way. And I thought, well, I think I can do something straight away. And so I went back to my hotel room very, very late at night, and I sent reports to everybody to inform them what it was, you know, what went down. And then the next day, I met somebody who had flown out from America, and you know, she's in Europe right now. So that was a super great you know, meeting. But then when I went to the meeting, I had to catch this person quickly, so there was no time for the tube. So I hopped into a taxi, and I was like, I can do something straight away now. I said to the taxi driver, I have to tell you what I've done yesterday. And he's like, tell me, right? Do you have an interesting story? Because it's pretty boring driving this taxi. So I said, okay, well, the thing is, yesterday I sued British intelligence. And he's like, oh, really? Well, what about? And I said, well, you know, it's about the non-consensual implanting of the British population. So what I did is I said to him, listen, I've got these magnets, I'm implanted head to toe, and I can show you how I'm implanted by sticking this magnet to my forehead, and it will stick. And I just plonked it on, and he just looked at me in his rearview mirror, and he's like, oh, wow. And I'm like, yeah, exactly, wow. But what's even bigger wow is that I would say the vast majority of people here in London and in the UK have these now, right? So I did that, and I took about 3 or 4 taxi rides, because I had to go places really quickly. And every single time I made a big deal out of telling the taxi drivers exactly what was happening, exactly how they can measure these body implants. And I said to them, you need to get yourself these little blasted magnets, and you need to get yourself an ultraviolet torch, and you need to check your eyes. And if they're fluorescent green, you have to, tell everybody. And you have to tell all the taxi drivers every time you're in one of these cab ranks, waiting, you have to tell everybody, right, that this is going on. So, and actually I got amazing feedback from these guys. One person asked me, like, he immediately thought, oh shit, yeah, my family could be affected. So he immediately asked me questions. Another person said, like, listen to me. And when I got out, he said, oh, thank you for telling me. You know what? I'm also big into these conspiracies. And I said, well, remember, it's not conspiracies. These are business plans. You are analyzing business plans. These people make a lot of money, right? But I just got positive feedback from absolutely everybody. And, that's all we can do. It's like, okay, so we have a bit more time. So the good news is the entire court building knows, I'm sure enough that by the end of next week, all the taxi drivers in London will know. And as soon as the taxi drivers know, soon enough, London will know. And we take it from there. But the other good news is also that if you didn't get your affidavit template in yet, there's more time. Okay, because what I'm going to do, and I have to tell you what happened the day after the court hearing. Okay, so I met this person in London, and we talked for a couple of hours. Also, very high profile person, she really knows what's going on. It was an excellent meeting. And then I need to tell you the secret place in London where you can go to escape directed energy weapons gunning. I was physically aching so much from the assaults that I thought, I need a break. I need a couple of hours of just feeling safe, to clear my head, come down from all this, and just have time to think. And I thought, which place, where could I go where they wouldn't be shooting around with directed energy weapons? I was like, my first thought was, I could, surely the MI6 building or MI5 building. I was like, I'm pretty sure I ain't getting in there now. So how about the Metropolitan Police building? I'm pretty sure I would be safe there, but I don't really want to go there. And then I thought, I know what, the cafeteria of the Supreme Court. I've been there before, and it's great. It's actually a lovely place. So when you go into the Supreme Court, it's a public building. You can go in. You can even go in and have a look around when there are no hearings, just to see the building and its architecture. So, and I was there with my trolley, okay, with my suitcase. So my suitcase, my massive bag with the 2 laptops, and I just dragged it to the Supreme Court. I went inside. You have to go through a metal detector, and your bags will be scanned by X-ray. So I had them all scanned, and inside I was, and it was like, I feel so much better here now. So you go downstairs into the cafeteria, and you're in this beautiful, beautiful inner courtyard, It's sealed, so it's heated. And there's this wonderful little coffee shop down there with great sandwiches, absolutely excellent tea. And you can just sit there at the tables. And that's what I did. I was there for hours, just going through everything, setting everything up, preparing the next move, and just, thinking about stuff. So if you are in London, you're a TI in London, and you want a couple of hours, or you want somewhere safe to go with a friend to have a coffee, go to the cafeteria of the Supreme Court. No directed energy weapon gunning inside anywhere, right? None. First of all, anybody who goes in has to be scanned, right, through an X-ray machine, right? So a big directed energy weapon will kind of show up. And it is just perfect. It is a safe haven where you can go. So I was there up until closing time, which, actually, I think that closing time is 4:30 p.m. Okay, so 4:30 p.m. And one of the things that I got out of it, because it's here, let me just show you. It's right behind my laptop. They were selling these for £5. I was like, okay, I'm going to get one. It's a book on the Supreme Court. for £5. It's like a big, it has all the architecture and the history explained. And I was like, you know what, I actually want this. I want to read up about it because it's a big deal. Okay. The Supreme Court and its integrity, as much as the High Court, is a big deal. And the people who are set up the Supreme Court in its current version understood that and have worked very hard. The Supreme Court, this building, is actually for the first time an independent judiciary at the highest level. Before, all the Supreme Court judges were inside the House of Lords. They were the so-called law lords. Okay, now how independent are you when you're surrounded by all these crown agents, right? I mean, not very. So new building, and they even changed their internet address, which was originally supremecourt.gov.uk, into just supremecourt.uk, because they wanted to emphasize that they are independent from the government. And recently they came up with a Supreme Court judgment saying that actually, I think it's right. I have to check it again. Okay, so this is from memory. Check first. But they also said that the judges are not crown agents, which is important actually, because we need more people to get independent from the crown corporation. So that has to be fixed down in law, that you can't have, you know, judges part of that. My view is that the entire judiciary should be paid directly from taxation with an actual pool of money that doesn't even go, you know, through the government. The tax should be paid to the treasury, and one part should be paid straight to the judiciary with full public accounting, right? And then we have an independent judiciary. When these judges' money comes straight from the people without, you know, having to beg for money from the government, but a certain percentage of all the tax ever taken. So if they increase the tax, they increase the payment to the judges. Only then do we have an independent judiciary. Okay. So by and large, on the surface of it, it went bottom up like you couldn't believe. But actually, in real terms, what it also showed me is the importance of insisting on an independent judge. I'm sorry, a judge who was grinning in the face of genocide and crimes against humanity, who was educated at the City of London school, that just won't do. Okay, he clearly doesn't get it. He clearly doesn't know that he's implanted. And my advice, you know, would be to Judge Nichols to get himself a neodymium magnet for £8, a ultraviolet, you know, torch for £10, and just shine it into his eyes and look if his pupils are bright green like mine, you know, because then he knows that during his school time and his time at Cambridge, he was implanted just like I was during my time at Oxford, you know. You know, and that's another thing, right? I'm from Oxford and he's from Cambridge. No surprise that, you know, he wasn't really that much in favor, right? But anyway, so this is it. This is what we got out of it. So I found a safe haven in London where people can go, publicly accessible during the week. I found out that you can find your chips with these magnets in the exposed areas where there's not that much tissue. Okay. Also, if you're kind of like skinny-ish, try your rib cage, you know, along your rib cage, because there you might also get find some chips. And then what else? Yes, the other big win was that we actually got all these 21 people to meet each other. That was worth gold. Okay, really, really big deal. We also showed the entire court system how important it was. And now I have a reason to have a big complaint about all this, about what the defendants did, how the judge reacted. And I insist on actually a decent judge, really. I mean, I personally want Judge Spencer and Judge Edis back, because they have a proven track record for these crimes against humanity. We need a judge with a proven track record of integrity. We absolutely need one. Not every Joe average judge can just come in and, you know, say his 2 pennies worth, because this is about crimes against humanity, not just in Britain. This case is of international importance. So this shit matters. And by the way, it's also about saving the UK royal family, which apparently still doesn't get that they are also to be acid stripped and murdered. And it's about saving the judges and their families too, you know, who are all going to be implanted, right? As far as I can tell, right? So now what happened, and I have to kind of, you know, tell you what happened the day after the court hearing. So I checked out of my hotel on the Friday. And then, and by the way, this is also why it took me so long to actually make this update. So Thursday night, I arrived back home at around, I think, midnight, and I finished giving phone updates at 3 a.m. And then the next day I checked out early on. I met this other person, which was really great. And then after that, I went on booking.com and I got myself a new hotel room. And that one was next to King's Cross. And the reason why is because I wanted to go to the British Library and consult a couple of books on law that I can't really get in Switzerland. So I looked up ordered a couple of books for the next day. And then I went into this hotel. And I kid you not, I went to the hotel and I arrived, I checked, it had great Wi-Fi, and I sat down and I wanted to work. And then the Wi-Fi stopped working and I started being assaulted. I actually think that the directed energy weapons were gunning the room so hard that they jammed the Wi-Fi. I said, oh, it just can't be. I can't last in this room. So I went downstairs to reception. I said, I didn't say, oh, I'm being gunned with directed energy weapons. I said, I don't have Wi-Fi. I need to, you know, give people updates about what's going on. I need to work tonight. So they gave me a new room, this time in the basement. And by the way, this was the European Hotel next to King's Cross. So I was there, and then I even have the thing from the next hotel. Yeah. So then I was downstairs. I was again fine for 20 minutes. Suddenly I could hear cloppity, cloppity, clop in some room around me. And then the directed energy weapon gunning started it again, and the Wi-Fi was not workable anymore. So I was like, come on, right? So I got all my stuff together. I went upstairs and I said, I'm sorry, but the Wi-Fi doesn't work. I need to work now. So I was talking to a really nice guy. He was really flustered about this. So what he said is, okay, he fought and got me a new room. And this time, and he said, actually, his Wi-Fi stopped working, right? I mean, these weapons seem to have jammed the Wi-Fi in the entire reception area, right? So he gave me another hotel, and this time I ended up at the Belgrove Hotel, also next to King's Cross. So I arrived and I changed hotels, and I think it was about 1 a.m. or 1:30 a.m., something like that, by the time I got there. And in the Belgrove Hotel, I was standing at the reception. And as I was standing there, this young woman arrived with a massive suitcase, and she came through the door, looked at the receptionist, and she said this odd sentence of, I'm in room 42. I already have my key. Right? And this other guy was like, okay. Now, if you arrive at 1 a.m., right, how can you already have your key when you're arriving with a big suitcase? Now, if you were there before and you already picked up your keys, right, why are you dragging this big suitcase still around with you, right? And why doesn't the receptionist recognize you? And why do you have to announce it to the receptionist? Why don't you just go straight to your room, right? So as I was standing now, I was thinking, hang on, this sounds more like an MI5 tagline here, you know, like a code sentence. Like they can't say I'm from MI5 and I'm going to move into a room that will be next to hers, right? So they have to say, look, I already have the key. I'm in room, you know. And she said, yes, I'm in room 42. So, you know, I was like, this is really strange, but, you know, let's see. So again, I'm given a room again in the basement. I go down, Wi-Fi is working super. I feel perfectly fine for 20 minutes. And then the gunning starts again. And this time it was hard, you know. I was like, this is ridiculous. So in the end, I packed my stuff together in the third hotel room. I went upstairs and I said, I'm sorry, I want to check out. I just want to check out. It was the same chain of hotels. I said, I just want to get out of here. So I checked out at 2 a.m. in the morning. There was no Wi-Fi. So at 2 a.m. in the morning, I ended up on a London street, no Wi-Fi, no hotel, nowhere to stay for the night. So I had to go to the closest McDonald's, thank God for McDonald's and their free Wi-Fi, get on their Wi-Fi, and then go back on booking.com and find the last room available for the night that had already started and was halfway through. I ended up, what was this called? It was called I think the Gresham Hotel, which is right behind the British Museum. So at 2 a.m., I relocated to the Gresham Hotel. When I arrived, curiously, next to reception, there was a guy standing there with just a mobile phone, not talking to the receptionist, just at, you know, as you do at 2 a.m., 2:30 a.m. in the morning, just stand around it next to reception with a mobile phone, you know. And I already thought, okay, this is the MI5 signal of we're here. And I checked into that hotel and I went upstairs to my room. I went straight to bed because I was exhausted. And what happened is as soon as I turned the lights off, the machine gunning started. So I was like, okay, I got out my little green measuring device, this EM Fields. For those of you who don't know, I took this, why is this thing? Here, this one, I turned it on and I was filming it and I could prove, and this is how low the background is here where I live. I live in the back end of the back of beyond. No backgrounds, nothing. But when you're in a city, you typically have some sort of signal, okay? So I had this on and I was filming, it was next to my head, and I was filming that the attacks would start as soon as I switched off the light. And then they would hammer my head specifically. So pretty much what you saw just now, right? These shots. So suddenly it flashes up, right? If I hold it to my head, right? And then you can see shots and then nothing again, right? But this is what it was like in the hotel room. And crucially, I mean, your mobile phone looks and sounds like, or rather looks like that if you just use the LEDs, but this has an audio output, and the directed energy weapon assaults sound fundamentally different from all the normal, you know, residential appliances that you would have in a home. So I have this video now of assault starting when I'm switching the lights off in the 4th hotel room that night, the 4th hotel room. So no one could have been assaulting me like that apart from MI5, apart from the one organization that had tracked me all the way there, right? So this was Saturday night, and I can tell you I didn't sleep very much. So on Sunday morning, I got up and I was thinking, man, I just don't have the energy to do this anymore. I have been assaulted so hard physically. So what I did is I just booked the next flight and I flew back Sunday night, back to Zurich. And I thought whatever books I would have read in the British Library, I'm just going to order them off Amazon and actually buy them outright. And that's what I did. So your donations basically pay for this legal literature, but also this legal literature will be turned into something that other people can benefit from. So this was pretty much it, right? So on Sunday, this was Saturday night I flew back. Sunday, I just needed the day off. And today I was just trying to find my feet again and, you know, tidy up and get back into working. So this is what happened. Now, what are we going to do now? And I'm going to tell you how we can turn this around. Number one, my particulars of claim are written so I can submit it. But what I want to do is I want to make a police report for every single freaking assault in these hotels. So I'm going to first of all make the police reports and then submit my particulars of claim, which will take some time, which gives you time to finish your tick box affidavits. So if you were really miffed of not making the deadline, well, it just got extended thanks to MI5 and MI6. Okay. So right now I have about 42 tick box affidavits, and I would love to take that up to 50. So if there are 8 people who still would like to submit their affidavits, now is your time. 50 is a nice and round number. And imagine I walk into this court case and I'm like, yes, well, you know, I've got 3 expert witnesses. Oh, sorry, I've got more than that. I've got 4 expert witnesses, 3 from the NSA. I've got 10 testifying victim witnesses, and I have 50 tick box affidavits. Under oath, in writing, right? There we go, 50, right? That's a pretty neat number. Now, I don't think the judiciary can ignore that. So please, there's 8 more spaces, right? I mean, if you now 20 people suddenly submit their stuff, that's okay too. I'm not going to limit it to 50, right? Just if you manage to get it to 50, that would be great. So this is what I'm going to do. And I want to fight for the right to be able to travel to London without being assaulted by these Nazi psychopaths. Seriously. I mean, where are we? And I have to say that walking around London is a lot better, but I still get assaulted in coffee shops, you know? In coffee shops, people log themselves into my body area network, and yeah, they are assaulting me. They are causing me pain, you know? And that's just not acceptable. I mean, we need to start rolling it back. And what we need to do is we need to have this, right? Without the crown, this. That's what we have to get back to. And right now, the rule of law is not observed. And the rule of law is not observed, not because I didn't manage to put in my particulars of claim, okay? The rule of law is not observed because I, as a litigant in the preparation for the court case, am being physically assaulted to the point that I cannot cope. I have physical lasting damage from the assaults of the defendants. And the defendants refuse to assault me. The defendants assault me, you know, all the way to the courtroom, and then in my private hotels, in my private homes, in my family's homes, and in every country of the world I travel to. Right? Now, and the genocide and the crimes against humanity, that's the big deal, not written or spoken claims. Right? I'm perfectly happy to speak under oath and actually, you know, say my claim. The claim that is relevant for this injunction hearing, right? But anyway, doesn't matter. They kind of made a dog's ear out of it, but it was to be expected. But that goes also on the file. And now these particulars of claim that I'm going to submit now will be in writing. They will be there, right, before Christmas. And the next hearing, I want to get a hearing again with a new judge, right? I mean, come on. I had happy judge hopping 4 times now. I had 4 different judges, right? I don't actually think that a case of this magnitude benefits from judge hopping, but I presume that they will hop again. I hope that they'll hop again, especially now that, you know, this city educated guy kind of got exposed for smiling about genocide. But the most important thing is I need help to ensure we have a judge of integrity. Seriously. If I were the head of MI6, you know, I applied. If I were the head of MI6 or MI5, but you know, MI5 is like small fries. I would ensure that judges, like judges of integrity, like my first 2 judges, that they would have personal security 24/7, because it's people like that that are really the pillars of society. Okay, if you want to build the rule of law, you need people of integrity, and they will be worth gold, because your written law and the legal architecture and even the infrastructure of the buildings and all that ain't worth crap if you don't have the judges operating it so that it actually works right, how it should, so that it benefits the people of the United Kingdom and the people worldwide, right? What we saw now didn't benefit anybody. It didn't benefit me. It didn't protect my witnesses. It didn't protect the people of the United Kingdom. And funnily enough, it didn't even protect the royal family, which, as I'm saying over and over again, is in more danger than they could ever possibly realize. They are the real targets of this. That's why this genocide is happening in Europe and in America, because the ultimate business plan is to take down the royal families of Europe and the billionaires and gazillionaires in America. That is the business plan, right? So, right? But on the other hand, what you see is this fight between the City of London, right? I mean, I can't make it any clearer. The City of London, as in the Vatican Crown Corporation, and the rest of the world. So you now saw the battle lines right there, right? That is exactly what we are fighting. But at the end of the day, this Vatican Crime Cartel Crown Corporation, I mean, as far as corporations go, it's a bit of an old, crappy, badly managed shit business, right? It's just a shit company, okay? It needs a management revamp. But also for the rest of humanity, it's just not survivable, okay? So this is what happened. Now this week, I'm going to get my ass to work on this. I have lots of stuff to do. I want to submit it. Please hurry up with your tick box affidavits, get them into order, and then let's get this. I want to file it before Christmas. And then I want to file on paper an injunction for the protection of myself and all my witnesses, testifying witnesses, and those testifying in writing only with the tick box affidavits for frickin' Christmas. And this Christmas, I want all the torture and all the V2K to be switched the fuck off by MI5 and other intel agencies. The Five Eyes can switch V2K off if they could just be fucked. They could stop accessing my genital implants, and they could stop raping me if only they could be bothered. Right? But instead, no, they get kind of sexually obsessed with people, and they are obsessed with torture, maiming, and murder. Right? So I don't know what it takes. I don't know what it takes to get it across to people, but I think a judge's order would really help. Okay? So my goal for this Christmas is to have all this torture shut the fuck down. We know who's doing it. The telecommunication companies are involved. The military contractors like Lockheed Martin are involved. And every single secret service on the planet is involved. So, you know, they shouldn't be able to just go home for Christmas and be with their families while this torture is ongoing. We know where they live. There need to be a court order that, no, you will not have a happy Christmas, Andrew Parker, if this shit is going on in the United Kingdom. Okay? So this is what I'm working on. Now, summary, if you want to protect yourself and your family, step number 1, 10-pound ultraviolet torch that will emit a kind of funky purpley light. Okay, check your eyes. Don't shine it too much directly into your eyes like I'm doing, or you will go blind. Get yourself these little magnets. Okay. Again, 8 pounds or something like that. I mean, you get an entire pack that you can give to your family. Okay. So for Christmas, remember, it might freak, you know, auntie whatever, you know, Jane out a bit, knowing that she's implanted. But hey, the good news is that now she probably knows where her headaches are coming from, and she knows that she's in line for multi-million pounds of damages. Okay. So happy Christmas, right? Merry Christmas to you all. That's what we're working for. Now, I would like to finish this by thanking absolutely every single person who supported me. I would like to thank all my witnesses who came down. Oh, damn, it says my battery is running low and I'm about to lose you all. Just give me a sec. Just give me a sec. Okay. Saved. Now, and know that nothing has been wasted. No money and travel expenses has been wasted. No time has been wasted. No emotional energy has been wasted. This is all an investment into turning this millennia-old machinery. Okay, so I'm gonna get to work now. Okay. Thank you to my donors, because it's only thanks to you that I managed to get my ass over there, and I managed to last through all this, and I managed to get all the other things done that I needed to get done. Okay, it is thanks to you that I can afford these legal books. Okay, and it's always just thanks to you that I even managed to live this long. You know, so know that you have done humanity a great service. We now have, you know, we have an entry here. Okay, I'm going to scan these and put them up online. Yeah, they look a bit like I got them out of there's even a hole here, you know. It's like I got it out of the jaws of a pit bull, a British pit bull, which is kind of true. Okay, and we're going to get to work, you know. And as before, my goal is to have this whole thing shut down, not just for myself, but for absolutely everybody around the world. You know, my goal is that this Christmas, we shouldn't have any more people being tortured by these mad people, you know. So thank you so much for listening. Onwards, right? And remember, the next step is that we absolutely have to do our utmost to ensure that we have a judge of integrity. It is super important, right? Because these judges can make or break the best court case, right? I mean, this was really easy to break because it was already broken when I turned up. But, you know, you kind of like the mask came off. I think we really all saw what the City of London types are like. You know, they kind of laugh at genocide and crimes against humanity, it seems. And it's just not acceptable. It's just not good enough. We need a better judge, you know, someone who's got better judgment, right? I mean, this is not really great judgment, is it? How hard would it have been to look really sad and say, oh, I'm so sorry, Dr. Horton, but my hands are tied, I can't do anything, you know? But no, instead he was really jolly. So that's not good judgment. But anyway, so hang in there. I know how hard it is for you victims. Hang in there, keep working on your affidavits, keep putting all these things in place, and remember that no work is ever wasted. This entire thing that I did with the affidavits is such that it can be recycled into eternity. You only do the work once, and then you have your affidavit in writing under oath, and you can put it into any court case. You can use it for your own court case. And once it's all written down and in place, you just take the same PDF and you just submit it to whoever needs supporting evidence for their own court case. Okay, that is the plan. So that's it. And yes, and for Christmas, get yourself this book, The Rule of Law by Tom Bingham. Very important. That's what we need around the world. It's a very good summary, very thin book, a great resource to look things up. And, you know, I think that summarizes what we don't have and what you want back. So thank you very much for listening. Also, before you go, I think I think Twitter and YouTube are preparing to really fuck us over on the 1st of January 2020. They'll have new terms and conditions. So please make sure that you have, I mean, first of all, subscribe here to stay up to date, but I'm also going to start migrating my videos to other platforms so that we'll have redundancy, you know, so it will not just be YouTube that hosts my videos, but I'm also moving to Vimeo. I'm moving to, what else did I move to? Well, Vimeo, there's the Russian site, RooTube, but it only has a 1 hour limit on videos, so it's kind of awkward. And I will find some other sites as well. Okay, but you will be able to find my videos in many, many more places, and it doesn't matter where you watch them, as long as you get the message. Also, I would like to get back into having regular videos on set dates, or I'm giving updates so that you know to expect one there. I kind of let everything go to hell the last couple of months, you know, because of just targeting. But I will have set dates, you know, and I will announce that next time. So what day is it today? Today is Tuesday, Monday. So how about I'm going to give you an update on Thursday. Okay, Thursday. So next Thursday on the 19th of December 2019, I will at, let's say 9 p.m. European time, which is 8 p.m. British time, which is 3 p.m. New York time. You will see me again speaking in English on this channel. And then I will try to maybe something like Wednesday, I'll do an update in German, or maybe tomorrow on Tuesday, you know, because I have to update the German people as well. But I will get into a much more regular thing. And also, if you like my work and you want, you know, this to be fought, please support me on Patreon. So my Patreon site is patreon.com/Stop007. Let me just share my screen to show you. It's this website, patreon.com/Stop007. And there you can have a membership. Now, the thing is, the membership is kind of very open. I don't restrict my videos. I don't want to restrict my videos. I want everybody to be able to, you know, support me monthly with whatever they can give. But, you know, if you give $5 monthly, that's like $2.50, you know, each for coffee that you buy me once per month. Would you buy me once per month a coffee, you know, just to support my work? I think most people kind of would, you know. So if you feel like that, then please give me at least $5 per month. If you feel like, oh, fuck, I would just, you know, do much more to fight these criminal bastards, then please donate some more. And of course, if you're a multimillionaire, you know, if you just give me $5 per month, you're one stingy bastard. So please, okay, how much would you pay for this thing to be fought by your employees? There we are. But anyway, so this is it. And I will also read this book about the Supreme Court, you know, because it also goes to the right to the core of the rule of law. And yeah, that is it. And you will, it's still work in progress, and the next update is coming. So thank you so much for listening. Stay strong. And I hope that you also see me struggle and you realize that you can survive even that. So you all have your struggles in your life, and know that you can get through anything with a bit of flexibility, a bit of humor, and a lot of patience. So thank you very much for listening, and bye for now. I love you all. Bye for now.